Welcome to I/O 2023. I'm Minhaz Kazi, and in this session, we'll take you on a journey with three unique individuals who work at Acme Corp, a totally not made-up organization. Throughout the session, we'll accompany these individuals as they face certain business challenges. Kishore, a marketing analyst, is trying to get more value out of their Google Analytics implementation. Musa, a data engineer, is building a robust and granular marketing reporting solution for users across the organization. Robin, the advertising expert, is working with their internal data science team to implement advanced use cases like creating custom audiences from marketing and first-party CRM data. We'll see how all three use a key feature of Google Analytics, the BigQuery export, to solve their problems. By the end of this session, you will learn how to get started with the BigQuery export feature for Google Analytics. We will also equip you with tools and resources to solve business problems. You can find links to all the tools and resources mentioned throughout the session at this link. Now, let's get started with Developer's Guide to BigQuery Export for Google Analytics 4. In our fictitious world, Acme Corp is a manufacturing and retail business. They have several websites and Firebase apps, including e-commerce stores. Acme has implemented Google Analytics 4, or GA4 properties, across their sites and apps for measurement. Kishore, an ambitious marketing analyst at Acme, is exploring how they can do more with the GA4 implementation. Kishore is a savvy marketer, is great with spreadsheets, and know a little bit of SQL. They realize they can go beyond the GA4 UI by exporting their Google Analytics data to BigQuery. The BigQuery export feature lets users export event-level data for their web and app properties to BigQuery. This data can be queried using SQL or be used in different reporting applications directly. It is also possible to join the data with other data sources and build models on top of them. So Kishore starts with three questions: how to try out the feature, how much will it cost, and how to get started. The quickest way to see how you can benefit from the BigQuery export feature is to explore the demo dataset. This gives you an idea about the schema and the structure of the data, what fields are available, and how the collected data is surfaced. If you want to run your own queries against the demo dataset, you can use the BigQuery Sandbox that lets you explore BigQuery capabilities at no cost. With BigQuery Sandbox, you can query the demo dataset or set up export for your own GA4 property without providing a credit card, creating a billing account, or enabling billing for your project. The Sandbox gives you 10 gigabytes of active storage and 1 terabyte of processed query data each month. Any tables created will expire after 60 days, so you get a significant amount of time to try it out. Now let's see what the demo dataset looks like and then run a few basic queries. Over here, we have the GA4 demo dataset. You can see the schema here that lists the fields. The event parameter is a nested record. The user properties is also a nested record. You can see a preview of the data by clicking the Preview tab. This will list all the fields along with samples of some records. We can run a query by clicking the Query button. Let's say we want to see a list of all the events along with their count. So select event name and count, and then we'll group this by event name, and we'll run the query. This will give us a list of all the events that happened on this date and their occurrence count. We can also run some other sample queries. The first query will show the list of all event parameters and count their occurrences. We'll create a new tab, paste in this query, and run it. This gives us a list of all event parameters that are available in the dataset. And the second query gives us the average number of transactions per purchaser. So let's go back, paste in the query, run the query, and now we can see the average number of transactions per purchaser for the dataset. This is just an example of how you can explore through the demo dataset and run sample queries. Once you have evaluated the BigQuery export, you might have to set it up for long-term usage. You should be aware of any potential BigQuery cost implications. BigQuery has a free tier for storage and querying. This free tier is available to everyone, so all Google Analytics users can also make use of it. The first 10 gigabytes of data stored is free every month, with 2 cents being charged for each additional gigabyte. First 1 terabyte of query data is free every month, with each additional terabyte costing $6.25 or on-demand pricing at 4 cents per slot hour with auto-scaling for standard edition. If you enable the streaming export for your GA4 property, it will cost a cent per 200 megabytes. At this point, Kishore has a good understanding of what the GA4 BigQuery export feature offers. She draws up a quick proposal with some cost estimates, gets approval from her department heads, and now has a budget to work with. To get started, she creates a GCP project, sets up a billing account, goes into her GA4 properties admin controls, and enables the BigQuery export. At this point, she starts partnering with an internal stakeholder to ensure other folks in her organization can also make use of this data. Musa, the data engineer at Acme, is now tasked with setting up the BigQuery data pipeline and making it available to other users. Once the dataset is available, the first thing Musa does is set up access control and custom cost control for BigQuery. BigQuery cost control can be implemented at project level and at user level. The project level cost control ensures that the organization as a whole does not go over a certain quota every day. On the other hand, user level cost control enforces specific quota per user. Setting up these controls ensures predictable billing for Acme at the end of the month. Now, not all interested users in Acme were fluent in SQL. Since the BigQuery dataset can be analyzed with many reporting applications, that made it easier for Musa to open up the dataset. For example, many users were already using Looker Studio within the organization. Here's a quick demo of how they could get started with the BigQuery export dataset without knowing any SQL. To start, we will go to report.new to create a new report in Looker Studio. Here, we'll select the BigQuery connector and select our billing project, and search for the GA4 demo dataset in the public datasets program. In this demo, we'll try to explore this dataset to see a trend of events over time and across different types of devices and OS. First, we'll add a date range control. We know that this dataset had data from early 2021, so we'll select that date range. Over here in this table, we'll add event names and event count. As this loads, we can see that there are 17 different types of events that occurred. So let's try to see what kind of trend we had for these events by day. This will create a line chart based on the total event counts. Now to drill down further, we can add the device category. And then also the OS. Now, For device category and the OS, we also want to see how many users were associated with these devices and OS, or basically the user count. We will add the count of user pseudo ID to the device table and turn this into a bar chart. We will do the same for the OS. This gives a holistic view of the dataset. Now we can select Purchase in this table, and that will cross-filter all other chart elements in this dashboard. We can drill down further for purchases on mobile devices. And then again, purchases for only Android devices, and see the trend over time. So this is an example of how anyone can use external applications like Looker Studio to analyze their Google Analytics 4 BigQuery dataset. No SQL expertise is required. As users within the organization are using the BigQuery export dataset more and more, Musa gets hit with a question from multiple users. Why doesn't the data from BigQuery match up with the data from the GA UI? After some initial troubleshooting, Musa can't find an answer and reaches out to Kishore to investigate further. And here's what they find. The BigQuery export data and the data from the GA4 UI are not supposed to match. Based on the GA properties settings, Google Analytics does significant value addition to the collected data before it reaches the UI. These value additions can include inclusion of Google signals, modeling, traffic attribution, prediction, etc. The UI aims to deliver maximum value to GA users at the lowest friction. But for advanced users like Acme, BigQuery Event Export is the intended starting point, where the users can build customized solutions on top of the collected granular data. To dig a bit further, here are some ways the UI and BigQuery export may differ and what Musa can potentially do to mitigate them to some extent. Conversion modeling, behavioral modeling, Google signals, and traffic attribution data are available at the UI at an aggregate level, but are not available in BigQuery. Avoid comparing reports with the other row or sampled exploration reports with BigQuery export. Ensure only active users are counted instead of all users in BigQuery. Implement HLL++ for approximating cardinality of common metrics like active user and sessions. Avoid common mistakes like tagging errors, implementing wrong metric calculation, and using the incorrect scope for dimensions and metrics. A significant number of users at Acme are now using the BigQuery export data on a regular basis. Musa can see the costs rising and potentially hitting the daily quota for the organization. To mitigate this, he takes on a new project. Instead of letting the users query directly from the BigQuery export dataset, Musa sets up an intermediary optimized dataset that is updated via scheduled query or materialized view on a daily basis. This intermediary dataset contains flat tables with the most used fields surfaced at the top level. The dataset does a lot of pre-processing and adds fields that would usually be calculated on the fly with queries. The new tables are partitioned by date and clustered by predefined fields like session ID. Musa also enables BigQuery BI engine on this new dataset to take advantage of fast in-memory analysis. At this point, Musa has a robust data pipeline setup where users can use different applications with the optimized tables. Cost controls ensure that the project stays within budget while providing fast, performant queries and dashboards to the end users. Now, the organization is ready to implement some advanced use cases. Robin, the advertising expert at Acme, has so far been building audiences inside Google Analytics and using them for their Google Ads campaigns. With the user-level data being available in BigQuery, they realized that it is possible to build even more effective audiences by joining the Google Analytics data with their first-party CRM data in a privacy-safe way. So Robin works with their internal data science and data engineering team to create a workflow. From the BigQuery export dataset, they first filter records with user IDs. This new dataset is then joined with their first-party CRM data within BigQuery using user ID as the key. This joint dataset acts as the base for their analysis. The data science team then uses BigQuery ML to build specific models, including lifetime value, propensity to purchase, propensity to churn, etc. Along with the user ID, these predicted values can then be imported into GA as user properties via the data import feature. Then, Robin can use these properties to create custom audiences. The custom audiences can then be used in Google Analytics as well as in Google Ads. After setting up this pipeline, Robin found out about 2 new features of BigQuery Export available in Q2 2023. The first feature adds event-level traffic source data that is captured at collection to the BigQuery event export. With this feature, these additional fields will be available in BigQuery event export, with potentially more fields being available in future. With the collected traffic source data, Robin can now build their own traffic attribution model for their organization. And the second feature is a completely new type of data export in a separate table. It is a daily export of all users whose GA4 data changed within the last day, along with summary stats for each user. The new user data export schema will include user properties like lifetime value and predictive metrics, audience membership, user scoped custom dimensions. With this user data export, Robin and their colleagues will be able to analyze their BigQuery export data at user level without additional query work. This unlocks use cases like joining additional first-party data at the user level and ultimately re-importing this data via data import for use in linked Google Ads accounts as conversions or audiences for targeting purposes. Robin realizes that these new features have opened up opportunities for additional marketing analysis and creating business value for Acme. They're now excited about the upcoming projects they're going to work on using the BigQuery export data. After all of this, Kishore, Musa, and Robin sat down to reflect on their accomplishments and share their knowledge with the rest of the organization. Here's what they summarized. Anyone using GA4 can use BigQuery export for detailed or large-scale data analysis, even without programming or SQL skills. It does not cost anything to try out the BigQuery feature, and the potential future costs can be managed easily. Even teams with limited resources can follow solution guides to solve advanced business problems with BigQuery export data. And with that, we say goodbye to our 3 friends at Acme Corp and welcome you to try out the BigQuery export feature for your GA4 property. Build a custom dashboard, create a BQML model, generate custom audiences, or try out something that's completely new, harnessing the power of Google Analytics 4 with BigQuery. Develop the solution that fits your needs. You can join the GA Discord server if you have questions. As I mentioned earlier, all the resources mentioned throughout this session, along with the relevant additional information, are available at this link. Thank you for watching.